Hey y'all, welcome to the Pungo Prairie. Now back when I was in high school, I fell in love 3 times. First with Ellen, then with Muffy, and then while on a biology club field trip over Christmas break down to the Florida Keys, and we stopped by this little Cuban bakery in Key West, I fell in love with key lime pie. It had all this nice meringue on top and this creamy green filling and this white flaky crust. Well, a few years later, I married Ellen, and we took a honeymoon back down to the Keys at the Sugarloaf Lodge. One night, they brought out key lime pie. I said to the waitress, "Hey, where's my meringue?" She said, "Well, I'm going to put some fresh whipped cream on it for you." I said, "Okay, but how come it's yellow? Weren't the limes ripe yet?" And she explained to me that key limes were more yellow than they are green. Well, with one bite of that Sugarloaf pie, bam! It was like the Wizard of Oz when it goes from black and white to color. That Sugarloaf pie was off the charts. Now, over the years, I'd have occasion to order key lime pie out somewhere at a restaurant, and some of it would come green and some of it would come yellow like that Sugarloaf pie. It was hit or miss at best. So I decided I was going to learn how to make the best key lime pie, which I did. And I taught my sweet little daughter Afton, when she was 12 years old, how to make it so she could sell it to some of the local restaurants. That way I wouldn't have to give her an allowance. And now I'm going to show y'all how to make it too. So don't go nowhere, because you don't want to miss this. Now the first thing we're going to do is make up our crust. And for that, we're going to need 3 of these fluted French torte pans with a removable bottom, one of these little wire pastry blenders, and a biscuit cutter, and a mixing bowl. A Robocoup, or you might call it a food processor, 2½ sticks of butter, and 2 1-pound bags of some Murray's old-fashioned ginger snap cookies. Into our Robocoup with the first bag. Lock the lid down and let her rip. Give it some pulses. Make sure you get all in chunks. Mix up and ground up good. Okay. Into our mixing bowl. Then go to our second bag. Same thing. Into our mixing bowl. And we're going to come over here to the stove and melt up our 2½ sticks of butter. And then in goes our melted butter into our crumbed up ginger snap cookies. We're going to use a spoon at first just to kind of get it distributed around in there fairly even. Then we want to go in here with our wire pastry blender. We just want to get that butter blended in there all nice and even with our crumbed up ginger snap cookies. And once we get all our butter cut in and blended in there good, we're going to evenly distribute our crumbs into these 3 fluted torte pans. Now we're just going to kind of spread out our mixture of crumbs and butter into these 3 pans. That looks pretty close. Now here comes the first of 3 little tricky parts to this recipe, which we're going to need this tablespoon and this little flat plastic spatula. And I'm going to start kind of pushing up the crumbs along the sides of our pie pan here. We're going to try to get it to begin with about a little 1/2-inch wall going on in there. Just like so. And then spread it out again. And press it a little bit tighter as you go around into the sides of our fluted little rim here. Now we're going to go back out, spread our crumbs again. And we're going to take our little plastic spatula and just press those crumbs with the back of our spoon firmly up against the rim and flatten down the top with this little spatula. Just work it around as you go. Keep it nice and even. And we're going to do this about 3 times to make sure we got it pressed up in there nice and firm. And now is when we're going to use the nice round smooth top of our biscuit cutter. And we're just going to work the bottom of our crust down in there nice and even. Now this little radius edge we got here is just perfect. We're going right around in that corner where that bottom meets the side of our fluted pan. Now look, you don't want to get heavy handed here. You kind of spin it a little bit, kind of pack it as you go. A light yet firm touch. Just an easy touch. It ain't like you're plowing snow off the sidewalk. Now we're just going to get the other 2. Okay, that British baking show don't have nothing on the Pungo Prairie. And we all know that's a lie. Now we're just going to take our 3 prepared pie crust and place them into our preheated 350 degree oven and bake them for 15 minutes. Okay, our 15 minutes is up. And just very carefully, with the second tricky part of this recipe, and take our pie crust and place it on this wire rack right here to cool. Now when I say carefully, one thing I mean is you got to hold it by the edges. You cannot lift up on the bottom of that pie pan. Because remember, the bottom of that pie pan ain't fastened in there. Because if you lift up on the bottom, that pie crust is going to come up out of there like a jack-in-the-box and crumbs are going to go flying everywhere. You ain't going to be very happy. And we're just going to let our 3 pie crusts there cool out nice while we make up our key lime filling. We're going to need a dozen large brown eggs, 4 cans of Eagle brand sweetened condensed milk, 3 tablespoons of white sugar, 1 green Persian lime, which we're going to zest up, and a 16-ounce bottle of some Nellie and Joe's famous Key West lime juice. Now we're going to separate the yolks from 8 of our eggs. And we're going to save our yolks and put them in this big bowl. And we're just going to discard the whites from those 8 eggs. And on the 9th egg, when we separate that one out, we're going to keep that white in this little bit larger bowl, and we're going to save it. And then goes the yolk with the rest of them. Next, we're going to take our sweetened condensed milk here and dump 3 cans. Be sure you get it all out of there good. In with these 9, remember now, 9 egg yolks. And now we're going to take our little electric mixer here and just blend our egg yolks and that sweet condensed milk. Now I've measured out 12 ounces or 1½ cups from our 16-ounce bottle of Nellie and Joe's key lime juice, which I'm going to pour slowly into our mixture as I blend it with the hand mixer. And we're just going to get it all blended in there nice and smooth and even. Okay, we're just going to take our mixture here now and we're going to evenly divide it into our 3 cooled pie crusts. Right in these nice little fluted tart pans. Working right across. Nice even amounts. Now we're going to try to get it as even as we can, and we want as much of it as we can. So we're going to take this little rubber spatula, scoop all that out of that ladle there and off the back. Get it all smoothed out. Work it right on out to the edges, nice and even. Working it right on around. Try to get my hand out of the way here so I can show you what I'm doing. We'll get it leveled off. Nice and flat on top. Now it ain't exactly like I can scrape my spatula off on the edge of that torque pan there. On account of I crumble my sides. So only thing I know to do is lick it off. Now some of y'all thinking, hey Dixon, that's got raw eggs in there. You're going to get salmonella poisoning or something. But to tell you the truth, the earliest recipes on the Nellie and Joe's bottle for these key lime pies, this is all you did. Just put it in the refrigerator overnight and let it cool down and set up. But to tell you the truth, that key lime juice, as soon as it hits those egg yolks, it's chemically cooking it. It's going to kill off any of that salmonella bacteria might be in there. It's going to kill it on the spot, deader than a hammer. So you really ain't got to worry. But just for all the rest of y'all that think you might be worried about it anyway, we're going to bake them, don't worry. Now I'm just going to set these 3 pies off to the side a minute while we make up the top layer for them. We're going to take our last 3 eggs and go right on in here and separate them out like we did with the first 9. We're going to add the whites of these 3 into that white that we reserved from the original 9. We're going to set the whites off to the side a minute, and in goes our last can of sweetened condensed milk. Now don't worry, I did wash the spatula off after I licked it. And right on with our mixture again. You just set that off to the side for a minute and get our egg whites. Now I've washed off our beaters because we want them nice and clean. We don't want any of that custard in here going in with what I'm about to do, or our egg whites ain't going to whip up the way we want them to. And we're just going to whip our egg whites up with a nice stiff peak. And that's what you want, with nice stiff peaks going on. Now we're going to blend in our 3 tablespoons of white sugar. Now let me tell you something. If you put that sugar in there before you whip them egg whites up to stiff peaks, well, that's going to be kind of like standing in a cold shower, if you know what I mean, because you ain't going to get there. Now we're going to get all the zest off of this lime. Get it all out of there nice. And we're just going to gather up all of our zest and sprinkle it in there with our egg whites. And then mix our zest in. Now we're just going to add our whipped egg whites with that lime zest and that sugar in there into our egg yolk and sweetened condensed milk mixture. And y'all thought I was making meringue. It's a little bit similar, but it ain't like Grandma made. And you just want to gently fold our whipped up egg whites in with that mixture we made up with that sweetened condensed milk and those egg yolks and that key lime juice. Oh no! The dog got barking and distracted me. I forgot to put the rest of the key lime juice in there. I don't know. We were supposed to put that in there with the egg yolks and the sweet condensed milk. I don't know how this is going to work out now, but we're going to try it. I don't know what else to do, but whip it up with it all in there after I just told everybody to fold it in there carefully. And the other thing we need to add right here is a tablespoon of some reconstituted lemon juice. I don't know. That might work. We're going to find out now, ain't we? Okay. We're going to add our mixture on top here. I don't know how it's going to work out, but we going with it. Hey, is Pongo. Callie, will you be quiet? You're supposed to be quiet on the set. Hey, it's supposed to be quiet on the set. Don't you know anything about Hollywood? You's out there barking. Made me lose my concentration. Go shut you up. And I forgot to add that lime juice. Little dog. I don't know if I'm going to give you a piece of this pie now. And we're just going to work that top layer around out to the edges, all nice and even. Just like so. Callie, girl. Jamie, Christmas you don't listen. I don't know, we might be alright here. You don't look that bad. Alright, you want some of that? I don't even know why I'm giving you any. Much trouble as you caused out there barking all afternoon. I'm trying to be in here shooting a movie. And these 3 pies are ready for the oven. And in they go. At 350 degrees for 17 minutes. Unless that's a smoke detector, these pies are ready to come out of the oven. Now remember, don't push up on the bottom of this pan. We're just going right over here and set our pies on these racks to let them cool. Now we're just going to let those pies cool out there on them racks for about an hour and a half to 2 hours before we get to the most critical nail-biting part of this recipe. Now we got these little 10-inch round cardboard circles and these pastry doilies. And we're just going to place our doily on top of that little round piece of cardboard. Now we're just going to ever so carefully slip our hand up under the bottom and lift our pie right out of there so that fluted ring comes loose. Shift the hands, get the ring off. And now comes the number 3 tricky part. This is the nail biter right here. Literally, you slip your thumbnail up underneath the rim of that crust like that, just so you get a grip. Come back over here, get your little cardboard round with your doily, line it up just on the edge, and tilt your pie. And just slide that bottom out. And you get about halfway out, come up under here and get a little bit better grip. And then right on out she comes. Now we're ready to box up our pie. See how we got that nice pretty little scalloped edge going on around there? And our pie now goes right into our box. Well, we're going to let it cool out for another hour or so before we put it in the refrigerator where it's going to spend the night. Okay, now that our pies have had a chance to sit overnight in the refrigerator, they're ready to serve. And I'm just going to go in here and cut us out one nice slice. Go right here on our little dish. Now I just used a Ready Whip extra creamy, but if you want to make up some homemade whipped cream, be my guest. Go right ahead, whatever twinkles your eye. And top it off with some extra creamy, thick and creamy whipped cream. And in honor of that little Cuban bakery down in Key West that started me off on all of this all those years ago, I'm going to put a little slice of a green Persian lime right on top for a garnish. And we're going to put our lime slice right on top, just like that. Now is that a pretty slice of pie or what? Dear Lord, thank you for all the wonderful things you have provided, like these little key limes, which we can turn into a delicious pie and satisfy our sweet tooth. Through Jesus we pray. Amen. Now you know I've been dying to dive into this. Oh my goodness. That is so good. So light and fresh and delicious. That ginger snap crust, all that tartness going on. And that's some key lime pie right there now. And that, girls and boys, is what's cooking on the Pungo Prairie. You had to know that was coming.